In recent years, there has been a big debate about Germany's current account surplus. In 2016, Germany recorded a current account surplus of 8.5% of GDP. This is fairly high, and in absolute terms, it's the biggest in the world economy. So is there really a problem with this current account? Couldn't we say this is just the result of market forces? Well, the US Trump administration has been very critical on Germany. On the other hand, I think their position is rather inadequate, because the natural focus of a US administration would be to look at the current account surplus of the Eurozone. So Germany is part of the Eurozone, and for the Eurozone as such, one doesn't find a very high current account surplus, just a little bit above 1% of GDP. But nevertheless, Germany's high current account position is a problem. It's more a problem within the European Union, where we have a rule since 2011 that the current account surplus should not exceed 6%. Now, Germany's current account surplus has been above 6% ever since the introduction of this rule, and it's kind of inconsistent if the German government does nothing to reduce the current account surplus position, while expecting that EU partners should, of course, stick to all the standard rules, for instance, the deficit criterion and so on, which we have in the European Union. So what could be done? Well, let's look back for a moment and ask, how was it when one had the goal to improve the current account position? Well, there the standard wisdom says you should consider a fiscal devaluation. You would increase, for instance, value-added tax rates, and in a budget-neutral way, you would reduce social security contributions. The argument then is, okay, the higher VAT rates will be imposed on imports, so the import volume will reduce. And as labor costs have declined, remember, we cut social security contributions, so as labor costs, as production unit costs are declining, the international price competitiveness is improving, and therefore exports will rise. Now, we have to do just the opposite in this case. We have an excessive current account position, so we should then reduce the value-added tax rate by about 3 percentage points. We should raise the social security contribution rate by at least 1%, so that we have, in the long run, roughly a budget-neutral effect. The main result then will be that Germany's imports will increase. In a mirror position, this means that Germany's partner countries will witness higher exports, and this will stimulate output and employment, for instance, in France, in Italy, in Spain, and so on. So this is exactly what Germany, I think, wants to see. We want to have a prosperous, stable Eurozone. Now, in addition, the German government can raise public investment relative to GDP. Here we have some practical problems, in the sense that at the state level, where many of the infrastructure programs are implemented, we have a lack of skilled staff, but that's the task then of state governments to deal with that problem. So I would sum up by saying that yes, there is a current account problem. One can do something about the current account problem. It should be done in a way which is not creating a new big budget deficit or an increase of the debt-GDP ratio. It is also clear that there will be only a transitory boost to the partner countries' GDP, but this is exactly what they need, because they want to have a higher output, they want to have a reduction of the debt-GDP ratio, and that means prospects for lower interest rates for everybody in the Eurozone. So this can be done, and one should also emphasize that there is no problem in the context of foreign direct investment. Some people were arguing that, for instance, we have profits accruing from abroad, from German subsidiaries abroad, which amount to 1.7% of Germany's GDP. Yes, this is true. We have an increasing outward stock of German foreign direct investment, which means that we then also have higher profit transfers to Germany. But that's not really a problem in terms of the current account, because we should not forget that exports of goods are proportionate to foreign gross national product. Now, if countries abroad have more German firms that send profits back to the headquarters in Germany, this simply means that the growth rate of GNP in the host countries of German foreign direct investment has a lower growth rate. So our exports will be dampened. At the same time, if we have a higher outward stock of foreign direct investment relative to the foreign capital stock, well, we will get, of course, higher profits that are transferred to Germany. This increases the German gross national product, and the imports of goods are proportionate not to GDP but to gross national product. So in a current account perspective, this means that the import of goods will increase. So there is no problem with outward foreign direct investment of Germany if it is increasing, if we simply understand the dynamics of the various elements in the current account position correctly. So I think one can be optimistic that a new economic policy in autumn 2017 in Germany could help the partner countries in the Eurozone to achieve higher economic growth. There is also some prospect that stronger cooperation between Germany and France can stimulate economic development and hopefully also institutional reforms in the EU. There is reason to be optimistic here. It is true, on the other hand, that there is the big question mark of Brexit, which undermines economic stability in the UK and to some extent also in the EU 27. The United Kingdom is the EU's second biggest economy, but after the snap election we clearly see that Prime Minister May has problems. She has lost the majority in the parliament and is now in a minority government supported by the partner party from Northern Ireland. But this means she has a very narrow political majority in the parliament, and it's absolutely unclear what the new British government really wants in terms of hard Brexit versus soft Brexit, and it's also unclear whether the result of the negotiations between the European Union and the United Kingdom will get a majority in the end in March 2019. So there are some question marks about Brexit. Will it take place at all? Will there be another snap election? Will there be a second referendum? I think it is clear in any case in the United Kingdom that the cost of Brexit are much higher than was thought initially, at least on the side of the Brexiteers. So everybody has to do his homework. Germany should reduce its current account surplus. France should certainly adopt labor market reforms and also adopt measures which will stimulate output growth and improve competitiveness, and even more so this holds for Italy. If the next 2 or 3 years would bring the necessary reforms, the Eurozone can really prosper. And this is what I at least would hope for the moment.